What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. Thanks for joining me today. We got plenty to talk about with an action-packed weekend as far as Razorback sports. You had the NFL Combine, 5 Razorbacks participating. We're going to touch on that, some of the outstanding things that a couple of guys did at the Combine. The recruiting dead period ends today, so Danny West will hop on, talk a little bit about what's going on with that. We got spring football on the horizon next week. Plenty to discuss there. Arkansas basketball with a disappointing showing against South Carolina. We'll have Connor Goodson on to talk about what all's going on with the Razorback basketball team, what to look forward to, what just happened, and Kevin Bohannon, of course, to talk all the latest in Razorback baseball. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. So many ways to watch and listen to the show, you can't even believe it. YouTube, Facebook, X, anywhere. We prefer you watch on YouTube or Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. We have 100,000 Razorback fans following us right now. If you're not following the page right now, we put all of our free content up there as well as stream this show as well. So you can get pretty easy access to all of our free content on our Facebook page. Also on YouTube, where we have, I think we're about 22,000 subscribers now. We have all of our post-game press conferences, all of our content like this on the YouTube page. Be sure to set it up to where you're notified anytime we upload new videos. Give us a like, thumbs up on all those different platforms, of course. Follow me on X as well. And subscribe at Hog Sports. Hog Sports is just $1 right now for your first month. And it's an exciting time because you've got all the March Madness stuff. Baseball is in full swing. We've got full coverage of Razorback basketball, football, baseball, and recruiting. Come test us out for $1 right now for your first month and get all of your spring practice coverage, of course. I know that's always exciting, especially with so many new faces on the football team. And if you like it, stick around. And after a month, you can go to the full price plan. And the beauty of the full price plan is because you get Paramount Plus for free. So Paramount Plus is usually $100 a year. Hog Sports is about $100 a year. So you're getting something for free no matter how you look at it. So it's a heck of a deal. Go sign up, HAWGsports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, the online leader in Razorback sports and athletics. That's an old slogan. What do I usually say now? Your number one independent source. Your number one independent source for Razorback sports. Okay. What do we want to talk on? Let's talk NFL Combine. Let's talk past Razorbacks. Isaac TeSlaa, guys, he's too slow. He's not athletic enough. Tyrone Broden should play over him? What? This dude put up a 9.97, which was 11th out of 3,408 wide receivers from 1987 to 2025 that have ever participated in the NFL Combine. That's a 9.97 RAS. That's relative athletic score. He was 6'3.5", 214, 10-inch hands, 31.125 arms. He ran a 4.44. I said on several different media outlets that we're not going to see a bunch of 4.4s or anything out of these guys going to the Combine, but we're going to see some pretty impressive jumping numbers because I knew what Isaac TeSlaa, I knew his summer testing numbers. I knew Andrew Armstrong's summer testing numbers. Isaac TeSlaa ran a 4.44. He had a 2.58 20-yard split and a 1.55 10-yard split. At 6'4", 213, he had a 39.5-inch vertical and a 10.9 broad jump. These are outstanding numbers for a guy that size especially. And he looked pretty good catching the ball, too, at the Combine. Isaac TeSlaa definitely helped himself. But it begs the question. It's not like a question of should he be drafted in the NFL. Okay, probably not even going to be drafted after all this. Maybe a late round. Maybe he helped himself enough. I don't think so, probably. But the question to me is not whether he should be drafted or he's a first-round pick with all these numbers or anything like that. The question is, why was he not playing over Broden? I don't mean to slam Tyrone Broden, but, dude, like, if anything, even if you throw out all these numbers just on catching the ball, TeSlaa is a 10 and Broden was a 5. And then you throw in all these numbers that he produced. I mean, these are outstanding. Again, we're talking about 11th all-time, 1987 to 2025 out of 3,408 wide receivers to attend the Combine. Isaac TeSlaa. Not fast enough, not athletic enough, but he can catch. No, it turns out he was all those things. Again, I'm not arguing that he should be like a high draft pick because of this. I'm just saying, you know who else helped himself? Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson has the on-field stuff. He didn't produce a ton of sacks, 6.5 sacks last year. But when you compare, he's 264 at 6'6", a legitimate 6'6", 264, prototypical size for an NFL defensive end, 33.25 arms, 10-inch hands, 40.5-inch vertical, one of the top vertical jumps out of anybody at the combine. Any position, 40.5 inches to lead all defensive ends, edge, whatever you want to call them. He had a 10.9 broad jump, which is also outstanding. He had a 4.69 in the 40-yard dash, which was middle of the pack, but also, a bigger size defensive end. I mean, he had an outstanding combine. So outstanding, in fact, that his ranked 23rd out of 1,802 edge rushers from 1987 to 2025 on his RAS. 23 out of 1,800, Landon Jackson. Guys, you remember there was a long stretch where Arkansas would go to the NFL Combine and everybody do terrible. And these guys did great. Jaquan Jackson didn't have a very good combine. For some reason, he didn't run the 40-yard dash. Maybe he's got the ankle stuff, but he did all the other on-field drills, which is confusing. Like, why wouldn't you do the 40? You got nothing to lose. But all the other stuff that he did, he was at or near the bottom in pretty much everything. Eric Gregory didn't have anything outstanding. He had a pretty good broad jump, but he didn't do anything outstanding. Aside from 28 reps is pretty solid for the bench press. It's not like record setting. Mitch Petrus had 45, which is third all time, just to put it in perspective. But Gregory was probably the strongest in terms of, one rep max on the team. I know he did at least 425 last year, last July. And Andrew Armstrong had a pretty good combine as well. Like, it wasn't like Isaac Tesla's in terms of just outstanding, but he was 6'3", 202, had a good reach, decent sized hands, not big hands, not as big as Tesla's. He did a 4.51, which is right in the middle of the pack in the 40-yard dash. His 10-yard split was actually fast. He was 15th out of 40 with a 1.53. His vertical jump was very good, 37.5 inches. His broad was good, 10.4. Not a great three-cone drill, but a pretty decent shuttle at 4.18. Tesla also, what did his bench? He was 17th, so he's third among just the 8 wide receivers that participated in that. But Armstrong had a pretty decent combine. Armstrong is kind of looking at, the back end of the draft. I don't think he hurt himself at all with the numbers that he put up. Okay, I'm running a little bit off because I wanted to get a little bit into the quarterback situation. We talked about running backs, wide receivers, offensive line as we kind of preview the spring. The spring starts on March 10th. Okay, so that's a Monday. Just to give you an idea real quick, I got the list, the schedule, the rough schedule. It's not a rough schedule. And I want to get into a little bit more on Taylor Green, but I want to get my guys in here first to talk about some of the things going on. But just for an idea of the spring schedule, I am told, I don't think this is official, but I am told that March 17th will be Arkansas's pro day. So Arkansas is going to go Monday, the 10th. They'll go Tuesday, so back-to-back days. They'll skip Wednesday, go back on Thursday, Saturday, the 15th, Tuesday, the 18th, and Thursday, the 20th, before cutting them loose for spring break. I was kind of assuming that they would go morning practices, but they are going to go afternoon practices. I don't know if that means 12 o'clock. I don't know if it means 3 o'clock. But I'm told it's going to be in the afternoon and not in the morning like they did last year, which I loved and wish they would, but they're not. Spring game is April 19th. Arkansas is doing a spring game. Going to showcase their players to everybody for the transfer portal, as they say. Transfer portal opens April 16th, so a little bit before. Okay. Who did I say we're going to? Connor? Going to Connor Goodson. Connor, you ready, man? What's up, brother?
Born ready, Trey.
If you stay ready.
Yeah, you don't have to get ready.
That's right. That's right. How's it going, man? Obviously, a little bit of a disappointing showing for Arkansas. A little bit. I mean, it was tremendously disappointing. They look like another team out there and went down by 30 points at one point to South Carolina. What in the hell happened?
Yeah, the one thing that Arkansas really couldn't have happened with them being like on the bubble, firmly on the bubble, was go out and lay just a complete dud, a disastrous performance. Like they could have afforded having a loss if they kept it clean. If they didn't have too much of just a non-showing on the offensive end, if it wasn't too bad of a performance in South Carolina, just makes plays down the stretch, that would have been looked at as like, okay, well, we're not going to hurt them that much for it. You couldn't afford to, get 30-pieced and just not show any fight and not have really any chance in the end. And that's why we saw them fall so far in the like the net rankings, the metrics, Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, all of those metrics. Just as bad as they played on the offensive end, it just hurt their efficiency ratings. Like with Ken Pom, I think they fell 15 spots on the offensive efficiency after that performance. And yeah, now they're in a situation where not only do you lack two of your best offensive players probably for these final two games, but you got to get at least one. I mean, you got to find a way to grit one out, whether it's on the road at Vanderbilt or at home against Mississippi State. You got to find ways to win at least one of these final two, and then you got to win your first game in the SEC tournament. If you win these next two, obviously I think that locks them in, but going into Vandy with just 7 guys doesn't look promising. But you never know. This team has not quit fighting, and they've had plenty of chances earlier in the season to quit fighting and give up. We'll see if they can, rally the troops and, go out and grit one out on the road or at home to wrap up the season. But they got to get at least one of these last two, and then one in the SEC tournament, I think.
Connor Goodson joining us. You can follow him at Connor Goodson, Connor Goodson on X, and you can read all of his content at HawgSports. Good bit, which is VIP. Again, HawgSports is $1 right now. You can sign up, as it says below here, for 30% off for the entire year if you want to take that route. But we do offer the $1 for the month, and you can test everything out and see if you like it or not. I think you will. That's how we get you. We get you in for $1, and you're like, oh, I didn't know they had all this. But it's one of the reasons we're one of the largest sites in the network, because once people sign up, they tend to stick around. So, Connor, what's going on with Thero? I mean, there's a lot of whispers out there that it could be a season-ending deal. Mm-hmm. What are you hearing right now?
That's the rumor. The only thing that I've gotten from anyone really in the know is not great was the 2-word response. Now, that can mean a plethora of things, not a lot of context there, but it does seem like these last 2 games are probably going to have to be without Thero. The official team release was that he hyperextended his knee against Missouri. Of course, Calipari came out after the game immediately in his press conference and was like, it's a back issue, which, it just adds another layer of like, okay, what is actually going on? And of course, in press conferences and stuff, we're not going to get the most transparency from the staff. They always play their cards close to the vest on these kind of things. But yeah, the broadcast against Texas said that he was going to get a second opinion in Los Angeles. Obviously he did that. We haven't heard official word on what the update is, other than those whispers or rumors that maybe he tore his meniscus. And obviously that would keep him out of for the season. I will say, if there's a little bit of hope, I have heard that Boogie Fland's mindset right now is that he wants to come back and play at some point in the season. Mm-hmm. Whether he's approaching rehab very aggressively and that he has that mindset that he does want to come back and play at some point this season, whether that's going to happen, whether that's even medically possible, I don't know. Whether he even gets cleared, we'll see. I've just been told that, he really wants to come back and play for this team, which would be a huge boost, just having another body. But
why wouldn't you? I mean, like playing in the NCAA tournament is what the reason to go to college, really. Yeah. I mean, this day and age, aside from there's financial benefits and stuff too, but that's why you would go there over going to like the G League, for example, is to experience going to an NCAA tournament. It would look bad for him, I guess, though, if they just laid an egg right out of the gate, if he was with the team.
But you have to keep in mind, ever since his injury, his draft stock has also kind of fallen, just because he wasn't really lighting it up to start SEC play, and the team as a whole was really struggling. So From his mind, he's probably thinking I can come back and maybe show these guys that, it was the injury that was really bothering me, that I can play when I'm healthy, that I can, really lead a team and rally a team. So
it worked out really well for Nick Smith.
Yeah. And I think it's funny when people were like saying, well, Thero's agents are, meddling in this, and that's the reason he's going to be held out for the NBA or whatever. But, some people forget Nick Smith actually did come back. Like, he didn't miss that whole year. He didn't sit out the whole year. He actually did come back. He didn't have to, but he came back and played through some discomfort, and
Thero's
got what it was. But
Thero's got too much dog in him to just.
That's what that's what makes me think that this injury is a little bit more serious, because if it was something that there was even the one iota of a possibility that Thero could play through it and go out and give them something, that dude's going to go play. Like, if this guy was a 3-year Razorback, we could be talking about one of the most fan favorite, up there with the fan favorites of Arkansas, just because his motor, the dude's hustle, his just humility also off the court. That dude's everything that you want to root for in a guy, and the guy that you want in your program. So to see it kind of end like this, it would suck. But yeah, if there's a possibility he could go out there and give him minutes right now, there's no doubt that Thero would be with the team doing exactly that and playing through injury. So
there's a lot that Razorback fans will forgive for humping it, and he does it. I mean, he after it. So it's 2 to 4 weeks for a hyperextension, unless we're talking about, as you said, a meniscus, there's cartilage or ligament damage or something like that, then he's out for the year. But 2 to 4 weeks if it's just a pretty minor hyperextension. So not good, but
and you got to think also, I don't know what the committee's stance on this is, but if the team, if the team does learn that Thero's out, like he's not coming back, like, do you release that information, make it public, or do you just keep tagging the indefinitely, we don't know kind of thing? Because does the committee weigh that? Do they think that, well, this Arkansas team's only got 7 guys. Do we really think that are we going to give them the edge over, they don't have their 2 best offensive players. If they're box score watching, their 2 leading guys aren't going to play in the NCAA tournament. Does that keep them out? Does it hurt them? I mean, that's something to watch as well. So we might not
we saw a couple of years ago at Florida State, they got boxed out because they didn't have, their quarterback. Of the college football playoff. So yeah, absolutely, they're going to take into account guys that are injured, and Arkansas obviously is super thin right now. What do you think is going to happen these next couple of games? You think they're going to bounce back? I mean, obviously it looked like a completely different team, but say Thero is not returning. They've got what they've got. What do you think about these last couple games?
I do expect them to come out and be a lot more focused and have a lot stronger performance against Vanderbilt. Like Calipari said, it was a dud. Burn the tape, move on. I think that's what we're kind of all doing. I think all Razorback fans want to burn the tape and not remember that performance against South Carolina. But this team has, like I said, they have shown fight, man. That is the one thing that, for as bad as they've been offensively, is disjointed, and the layup issues, the not shooting enough threes, not making enough threes. Regardless, this team has fought their rear ends off every game. It feels like it, until that South Carolina game, they kind of, just were dead in the water. But up until then, every game this team has fought. And so I think that mindset, it's not something that you can just throw away. I think that they're going to fight. They're going to claw. They're not going to go down without a fight. I think that this is one of those things where Calipari rallies the troops. They have some heart-to-hearts, and they go out and they give Vanderbilt a tough game. Do they pull it out? I think that you're going to start to see those depth issues come into play. Vanderbilt has 9 guys, nine-man rotation of guys who play 18 minutes or more, averaging 18 minutes or more. So I think that they're really going to get after the Hogs and make it difficult. And then you've got the dentist, Chris Jans, bringing his scrappy Bulldogs into Bud Walton Arena on Saturday. That game is always kind of a crapshoot because they're going to muddy it up and really get after you defensively. So I think both games are going to be close. Can Arkansas make plays? Do they have some guy that can really take the reins late down the stretch of these games? I don't know. Can Nelly Davis be that guy? Can Trevin Brazile just come out and have a performance like he did against Texas? I mean, you need all of these guys to step up and give you something. You can't have 3 guys no show, and so that's what it's going to take.
All right, Connor. Why did Rothstein call Chris Jans the dentist? Where did that come from? You know?
I think just because he looks like a guy that would be a dentist. Maybe he
Is
just
it
looks like just an unassuming guy who owns his own dental practice or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have no idea. That's it. I guess it's fitting because it's taken on its own personality. But yeah, sometimes watching Mississippi State games is like, you'd rather get your teeth pulled than have to watch that. Sometimes it is just it's a disgrace to basketball. But hey, it works for them down there.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you, Connor. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. See you, Trey.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Again, you can follow him at Connor Goodson on X and read all of his content at HawgSports. You can also read Kevin Bohannon's content at HawgSports. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Hey, doing good. We've had baseball weather, and looks like we're trending that way again this week.
Yeah, it looks like it. For those of you interested in following Kevin on X, you can follow him at KBO Baseball Guru on X and read all of his content at HawgSports. He does a lot of our baseball content is free, but he also does kind of midweek analysis stories and breaks everything down. It wasn't always easy against Charlotte this past weekend, but they pulled out a 3-game sweep.
Yeah, and baseball fans are learning quick about mid-major baseball and the parity in college baseball all around. I'm sure if you took a random Razorback baseball fan and said, okay, we're playing Dallas Baptist this week, what are your thoughts on the series? Well, Hogs should sweep them, no doubt. Dallas Baptist is one of the top 15 teams in the nation. Don't just judge a book by its cover or just the name on the jersey, because mid-major baseball, especially in the AAC where Charlotte is from, they got East Carolina, and that's where Zach Root came from, and he's been the Razorbacks' top pitcher so far through 3 weeks of the season. So Friday was fun. It was fun to cover. I'm sure it was fun for the players, maybe a little nerve-wracking for the coaches when you're down 10-1. Your Friday starter gives up 5 runs on 5 hits in the first inning, but the Razorbacks came back. They showed some grit. I think that was one thing I mentioned last week that Coach Van Horn wanted to see from this team, some accountability on the players themselves. So you saw that on Friday. They came back 111-10. Saturday was a little easier. They still had to come back. Zach Root gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, 3 doubles in the first inning. The first time Root had allowed an extra base hit all season. And Landon Cheese came out yesterday and looked really good as the third starter. That's what you expected, getting a Friday night starter from Ohio State, and he filled in that role really well. With Gage Wood going to be out probably another 3-4 weeks, it looks good right now for the pitching staff.
The official diagnosis with Gage Wood?
Shoulder impingement. It originally came out on the MRI that it was a grade 1 strain. And when Coach Van Horn met with the media before the Grambling game last Tuesday, he said shoulder impingement. That's that's a widely used term. So strain, nothing's torn. That's the good thing. Mm-hmm. Gage has been throwing. That's good. If he's not shut down, I could see him back in 3 to 4 weeks, but nothing major, nothing season ending, and nothing that will require surgery.
So they get going again on Tuesday with a 2-game series against ULM at 3:00 on both days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's a 3-game series against Portland. They got UCA after that for a midweek, and then it's right on into SEC play against Ole Miss and at Ole Miss. What are your thoughts on, I guess, these 6 games coming up on the schedule before entering SEC play?
You're going to get to see a lot of younger guys play. Ben Bybee will likely start Tuesday against ULM, and ULM was picked at the bottom of the Sun Belt. They were right behind Arkansas State. Not a very talented program, but it's the Sun Belt, so that it'll be a tough, okay midweek series. A good primer for the Portland series, who was picked at the top of the West Coast Conference. Portland was 37-19 last year. They were 19-5 in the conference. So they're battling. They were expected to battle with Nevada at the top of the conference in the West Coast Conference. So UCA has struggled this year hitting offensively. A lot of in-state players. There will be a lot of guys on that team that have played travel ball with a lot of the guys on the Arkansas roster. So always good to see the midweek series. I enjoy covering them because I have a lot of good relationships with the coaches around the state from UAPB, UCA, Little Rock, Arkansas State. It's always good to get up to Fayetteville and see those teams take on each other.
And Ole Miss is 10-1 right now, so they're off to a good start. What are your thoughts on the Rebels and just the SEC in general from what you've seen so far?
It's as tough as it's ever been. The rankings just came out for Baseball America and D1 baseball, and Arkansas has moved up to number 3. They were the benefactor of Texas A&M losing 4 straight games. So the number 1 team consensus across every poll that came out, and there's 5 of them, Texas A&M was the number 1 team. No doubt in my mind they had the talent returning with Jace Lavalette, but they lost their third baseman for the year. That's going to be tough for them to bounce back from. LSU looks really good right now. They got a lot of good young talent. They were rated the number 1 freshman class that came in this year, and they're off to an undefeated start. Tennessee's right there. They're hitting home runs left and right at a clip that they have the last couple of years under Tony Vitello. They're an offensive juggernaut. Ole Miss has really been kind of a surprise to me. Ole Miss and Arkansas have had a good rivalry going back the last 3 or 4 years. They came to Fayetteville for a super regional, and the fans always get excited that Ole Miss series. Now, Arkansas is playing on the road in the SEC for the first time. It was scheduled in 2020. They were going to go to Mississippi State. So this is the first time Arkansas has opened on the road in at least 7 years, I think. So it'll be a good series. I'm looking forward to it. Ole Miss returns Hunter Elliott. Elliott shut down Arkansas last year on Friday night. He's a lefty, very crafty, but he can run it up there 91, 92. Their offense is not where it's been in the past with Kemp Alderman, who is a designated hitter, hit a couple of home runs in the series 2 years ago against Arkansas. So just like with the other 2 series the past 2 weekends, they've been, when Arkansas was in Arlington, you had a 2-run game and 2 1-run games. Those games are decided by a total of 4 games. And this past weekend, every game was close. Yesterday, Charlotte came back in the 9th inning. Arkansas had to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. So expect a lot of drama over these next 2 to 3 weeks, especially as Arkansas gets into playing 5 games in 6 days. That takes a toll on the team. Coach Van Horn has done a really good job of spreading out innings among his pitching staff. I know a lot of the fans on our message board right now seems to think that the circle of trust is really small. I pointed out that there's been 8 guys that have appeared in at least 4 games or more this season. Parker Coyle is the only one that's appeared more than once in a weekend, twice in a row. Okay. So he's got 6 appearances on the year, but only 8 innings. You extrapolate that out, and that's only 40 innings for a regular season. That's pretty low for a reliever. So the pitching staff is deep. Coach Van Horn played 13 position players yesterday. I don't remember that in the last 4 years. Having a bench that deep bodes well for a conference that's as deep as it's ever been.
We'll get you out of this, Kevin. Has anything about this team surprised you so far? Anything just like that you didn't expect with them, good or bad?
They're playing better than I thought they would. And I am a realist. I consider myself to be have an objective opinion about everything, and they've played better than I thought they would. They have gelled better. There hasn't been a lot of infighting. You can tell when the players talk about each other. Only 2 players have started and played all 11 games now. That's Fahiva Aloy and Brent Iredale at shortstop and third base, respectively. Everybody else has either sit out a game or come out of a game early. That's big. I say there's 3 things that you need to get to Omaha. You need an offense that is able to score runs more than just hitting a home run. You have to have a pitching staff that has at least 10 pitchers that can be relied upon at any point. And the third thing is you got to have a little luck, a little tip of the cap to the baseball gods. That includes health, and that includes guys getting along, especially in the NIL era and the transfer portal era, of guys being able to gel really quick. And I mentioned this when I first came on here with you, that Coach Van Horn and his staff had gone about replacing players and just replacing production. And now they're actually I say hiring, but coming from the business world, they're replacing quality character guys and teaching them skills. And that's one of the things that I believe has made them a better ball club through the first 11 games, which starting off 10-1 is not anything that hasn't happened before. It's the 9th time in the Dave Van Horn era. So I just think they've played better to this point, and I think that they'll continue to play at a high level.
All right, Kevin. Appreciate you, bud. Thanks for hopping on today.
You bet. Take it easy, Trey.
All right, everybody. That's Kevin Bohannon. Again, you can follow him at KBO Baseball Guru. That's KBO Baseball Guru on X, and read all of his content at HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. Does game previews, game breakdowns. We provide basically on our game breakdowns, Kevin does a bunch of key topics at the beginning of the story, things that happen, breaking down, analysis type of stuff. We, of course, include the box score. We've got video from, each inning when, there are highlights available, and it does an inning by inning breakdown, of course, let you know about what's up next as well. So pretty complete analysis and breakdown after each game, and game previews, and then his own kind of op-ed opinion type stuff also available at HawgSports. So complete baseball coverage over at HawgSports with our man Kevin Bohannon. Again, follow him at KBO Baseball Guru on X. All right, Danny West. Everybody knows Danny. He's been with us for a number of years. Danny, how's it going, brother? You all right?
Well, I'm ready to rock and roll, babe. What's happening?
Well, dead period is over for recruiting. That mean anything?
Yeah, back to work for me, man. Enough with all the honeydew stuff around this joint.
Yeah, you get your bathroom tiled?
Well, got the kitchen retiled, and I'm ready for a quiet period. So, yeah, we'll jump right into that. I bet you're pushed on time today. Quiet period did start today, runs through April 14th. And, for people that don't really keep up with that, Trey, it really means that kids can come back to campus. Coaches can't be out on the road right now. And, again, that runs through April 14th and really runs you right up to a really important stretch coming up there. Of course, the 10-day transfer period coming after spring ball, April 16th through the 25th this year will be your 10-day stretch there. So, of course, got a lot coming up here, Trey. Right now, it's all about unofficial visits. They're going to have a little event this weekend on Saturday to get guys back on campus and kick it off again. But right now, it's about unofficial visits, spring ball visits, got spring practice coming up, and, of course, leading right into June, the all-important official visits coming up in June. So it's kind of been the quiet before the storm, and now you ease back into the storm a little bit before the big storm comes in June.
Danny, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the football team with spring football coming up just here next week, in a week, on March 10th, really. So many new faces out there. I was curious your thoughts. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but just your thoughts on maybe a guy or two that you kind of really got your eye on. I know it's hard to pin down with so many new faces out there, but somebody that you're maybe felt like flew under the radar a little bit that Razorback fans might be impressed with this season.
Good timing after this weekend, because I'd have to go with Jordan Anthony. He set a UA record. I forget what he ran in the 60 Trey, but 6 something, and set the school record, set a PR. So probably Jordan at receiver. Of course, we all know what happened with Desmond James after the bowl, and that's part of it, man. But you need somebody else to step up like that too. And it seemed like James, was well on his way. And so Jordan Anthony, after running like that this weekend, we knew he could run. But I'm excited to go out there and see that at receiver. They got a lot to figure out, buddy, at receiver. You've talked about it a lot. We have, and they're way over, scholarship-wise. So, yeah, that'll probably be, with offensive line, probably be right there at the top of what I'd be most interested in. Then on defensive side, I want to see some of those pass rushers, man. You can't lose a guy, speaking of what we saw over the weekend, you can't lose a guy like Landon and not have somebody step up. And I think it's going to require 2 or 3 somebodies. So Charlie Collins, Kavion Henderson, I'd be really curious to see what they look like this spring.
Yeah. And, Justice Boone is a guy that played for
yeah.
Florida last year. Speaking of some of the newcomers,
Allen.
Quincy Rhodes, I've always kind of thought of Quincy at 6'6", 290 is kind of maybe the understudy a little bit to Landon Jackson.
Did you see him on Hogwins the other day with Cam? You got to watch it. It's hilarious.
Hogwins? I don't even know.
Hogwins. Yeah, it's kind of the UA's fun version of Hot Ones, the hot chicken wings.
So they eating the hot wings?
Yeah, they're eating the little Razorback Tyson nuggets and dipping them in the actual, I guess, the Grim Reaper type stuff.
Are they using the bomb? That's the one that gets everybody.
They relabeled it with Razorback themed stuff. I think they got the Hill or whatever. Pit Boss is one of them. So it's a pretty good little segment. Shout out to them for doing that. And they've got the right guy doing it. Cam Ball is the guy.
Cam Ball is, yeah. I love Cam Ball. So obviously,
anyway, we got off on that. But
with spring football, I think there's going to be so many eyes on Taylen Green. And we've talked a little bit about how important it is. The idea that he's in year 2 of Bobby Petrino's offense, and year 2 in that offense, in theory, is going to produce better results because it is a pro style offense. It takes longer for players to learn all the ins and outs of that type of offense. And, you go back and look at things historically. In 2008, Arkansas never scored more than 4 touchdowns in a single game. A lot of people don't know that. For as prolific as Bobby Petrino's offense is. They scored 30 against Tulsa in a 30-23 win. They scored 31 in a 31-30 win over LSU. Those are the only times they've topped 30 points that year. The next year, they went over 40 points 7 different times. Of course, they had a future NFL quarterback in Ryan Mallett at the time. So that helped. But I think the idea is that they should be better on offense. But I would contend, Danny, that no amount of coaching, no amount of comfort in the offense, time in the system is going to matter to Taylen Green's performance next season as much as those 5 guys in front of him and the targets that he has at wide receiver. You mentioned Jordan Anthony as a guy that could step up. I kind of think that, the dude's fast, but I don't know that they would feel – I don't know the fact that they brought in 5 transfer wide receivers tells me that they feel great about the 5 guys that are returning.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, same deal. It kind of makes you wonder about the Dasman situation. Like, where was he? And what was going on there a little bit. So who knows? There's that aspect of it too. Maybe we just haven't seen it yet. Tesla over the weekend kind of made a name for himself. And I think fans are kind of, looking back now like, man, could have got a little more out of him. And he was fairly consistent, so there's been a little bit of that. You're right, man. There's so many new faces. You're sitting here looking at Courtney and Omega Blake. Obviously, those guys you want to see immediately, right? But just kind of those understudies who have sat around a little bit. Jordan would be right there. And, some of those new guys, there's nothing keeping a freshman out of the equation this year. A true freshman could jump in there. We've seen that all over the conference. Maybe not so much here at Arkansas lately, but that's always possible. Forget where I was headed with that. But
do you think Antonio Jordan? He's not here, so he's not part of the spring. He's one of the 7 guys. Jace Brown also. Right. So you got 2 of the however many wide. Would they bring in 4 wide receivers out of the high school?
Yeah, Jacaden will be there.
Does he got a shot to play this year?
I think so. Out of all the true freshmen, because of what you mentioned there, Antonio's not coming in until summer. And Jace Brown is going to be a May guy too. So, and
he was supposed to be an early.
He was supposed to have been. Yeah, we had him as an early guy, and something changed. I don't know what, but either way, yeah. If I had to pick one of the freshmen, it'd probably be Ferguson. And it's another guy we haven't talked a lot about because he and Jace both, were National Signing Day hiccups. That happened really late. We kind of knew a little bit about it, but we weren't out there talking about it so much. So
yeah.
Couple of surprise guys there, but Jacaden probably would be my pick by default.
Well, I'm looking at Omega Blake, and, I think Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks both can be guys that are reliable. They caught a lot of passes. They can catch the ball. They feel comfortable in game. But to me, you don't bring in Courtney Crutchfield was number 43 ranked prospect in the entire country last year, 2024 class. I doubt it was cheap to bring him in. I know we heard, rumors and stuff that he wasn't happy at Missouri, wanted to change it back to Arkansas during the season and stuff, and that obviously came to fruition. But I look at Courtney Crutchfield and Shaq McCroy, because Shaq McCroy, the thought kind of with him, well, he's still young, he's just a redshirt freshman and all this stuff, but it couldn't have been cheap, Danny, to get him to transfer to Arkansas, when he was also a top 100 prospect nationally in the class of 2024.
Yeah.
So I doubt they brought those guys in, Crutchfield and McCroy, with the idea that they're just going to sit on aluminum for a year. They're relying on those guys to play. Are they not?
Day one, they ought to be. Yeah, I would think so. But on Shaq, it makes you ask where, and that we can go all day on spring.
There's so many possibilities with the offense.
Right.
Yeah.
But, man, where is he going to play? There's so many
right tackle.
You think right tackle?
That's where I'd put him.
That's probably what I'd do too. But
if he's one of my 5 best, he's the right tackle. 6'8", 365.
Yeah. So what does that mean for the current right tackle, or a Marion, or whoever that may have been?
I think a Marion probably is a better fit anyway inside, even though he's tall like he is. I think he's inside. I think so. I think just me playing it out in my head, you're looking at the opportunity for competition with Corey Robinson, Fernando Carmona, Shaq McCroy, and some kind of way for the starting tackle spot. Maybe Bubba Craig, maybe him too, and maybe a Marion Harris has some say in that. But they're gonna figure out among those guys who their best 2 tackles are before they ever consider who their starting guards are. We know that about Mateos and Pittman.
No doubt.
So I think you're looking at probably a competition with those 4 guys, and whoever wins those jobs, then you're looking inside with, say it's Corey Robinson and Shaq McCroy. Then you're talking an inside competition with a Marion Harris,
and the
Fernando Carmona, Keyshawn Blackstock, Kobe Branham. And
don't you feel like Kobe's kind of a lock at this point? Doesn't he feel kind of like a lock?
I don't know if he's a lock.
They seem like they like that dude a lot.
No, I know that they do. But I know he's also still very young. But I know that some of the stuff that you kind of hear whispers about was like that Joshua Braun, his job wasn't safe with Kobe Branham. But they also did bring in a decent number of guys on the offensive line. So I think that you're looking at the possibility for some competition there at that spot. And then, I think you're looking – well, hell, Danny, before we even get to guard, that they're going to figure out who their center is.
Got to. That's got to be first, probably.
So, yeah, you're going tackles and center, really. And there have been some discussion that Fernando Carmona could work at center. I have not heard anything since.
I haven't heard any more on that, by the way.
It's very early. Yeah, exactly. Same here. So maybe that's just something that's just kind of bandied about. Yeah. Caden Kittler, if he wins the starting center job, he would be the first guy to start at center who also played center the year before.
Is that right?
In a long time, since since Stromberg did it. And Stromberg, when he first took over the center job, he was a guard the year before that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while since they've had, I guess, even though he's not the same team, a guy who returns at center in theory. So, but Kittler's got to have some competition. I don't. I love Brooke Edmondson, but I don't think he's an SEC starter.
Sure.
So is it Kittler? Is it Carmona? Maybe. Do they look at somebody else there? Who else could play center? But you got to have some good competition, and that's one of the things that I like about this offensive line compared to last year. I also look at Danny. Last year was improvement on the offensive line. They were still below average.
Mm-hmm.
As a group. They went from giving up 47 sacks, not all on the offensive line, obviously, but obviously that's what you look at, to 36 sacks. So still in the bottom 5. I think they were 12th out of 16 teams in sacks allowed last year versus I think probably dead last or second to last the year before. But I think that they have an opportunity to have better competition. Anyway, all of that to say, the reason we're talking about that is because we can talk all about Taylor Green's potential improvement and understanding the offense and all that stuff, but none of it matters. And your boy Patrick Mahomes proved it if anybody ever did. I don't care how elusive or great you are at quarterback. If you are not protected up front, you're going to look like ass at quarterback. You just are.
Don't talk about Pat like that, man.
I said as great and as elusive as he is.
No, that was prime example. Exhibit A is what that was, buddy. That's a rough one.
You got to have protection up
That's
front.
a rough one.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to me for Talon. And I look back at some of the instances that we saw. I mean, Talon was great against bad defenses last year. Mm-hmm. And for the most part wasn't very good against good defenses. He played technically okay against Ole Miss before he came out very early. He was 10 of 14 passing. They were down 35-10 when he came out, though. He played –
Speaking of rough ones.
He played good against Tennessee, but he didn't have any touchdowns. He also didn't have any interceptions. It was a very low-scoring game, but he took care of the ball. Defense kept him in it, that kind of stuff, but didn't finish the game. But like Oklahoma State, he kind of lit up Oklahoma State. Mississippi State, Texas Tech, all bad defenses. Oklahoma State was last in the Big 12. Texas Tech second last. Mississippi State dead last in the SEC in points allowed. So like that kind of skews some of the stats a little bit versus when he struggled a little bit more against better teams. I can't even remember where I'm going with that, but
well, let me ask you this, Biddy.
Yeah,
we talked about the 10-day portal coming up. Would you go get another interior guy
on the line?
On the offensive line?
I don't know. I think that they've got enough competition right now.
Where are they at now? 15 or 16 total?
I think they might be down a little bit. Let me see.
If they're at 14, I'd go get one.
They might be at 14. They might be at 14, Danny.
I'd probably do that.
But I remember what I was pointing out. I was just saying against Texas A&M, they were up 14-7. And before Taylor Green knows it, somebody's in the backfield hitting him, and he fumbles the ball, and they scored a tie at 14-14. Right. Then Arkansas gets the ball back with, at the end of the game, fast forward, they're down 4 with a chance to go down the field and score and win the game. They got plenty of time, 2:39 on the clock. And what happens?
Couldn't do nothing with it.
And the dude drills him trying to make a handoff, can't even get a handoff off. The dude hits him so fast, fumbles the ball game. Like, cost you that game. LSU, that was a very competitive game until the Weeks kid exploded through the line, batted the pass in the air, and intercepted it at the 2-yard line. They got 15 on scholarship right now.
15.
So that's kind of like the baseline number. And this is the most that they've had under Pittman. This is the most offensive lineman they've had. And we always talk about 15. Pittman was probably like 17, really. Mm-hmm. Like 17, kind of the high end. But 15, I feel like, to me, like in the formula I use, like having a 3 deep plus one, but like plus 1 interior guy, plus 1 tackle. Mm-hmm. So that would give you 17, like in the ideal. This is it's kind of weird. This is probably the last year we'll have that kind of formula because they'll go to 105 scholarship guys. But I've got them at 15 scholarship players. That includes Brooke Edmondson, who was put on scholarship.
There you go. That's what I was missing.
Yep.
I got you. I got to update my list here.
Yeah, that includes him. But, Marcus Doomerville, I don't know if he's competing for a starting job as much as, maybe a guy.
Broussard is kind of one of those guys that we haven't talked a lot about, but could make it interesting. A flex guy that can do a little bit of both. So
he's also a redshirt freshman.
He's really young. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's so many different combinations, but I like that. I like that there's going to be competition up front. I think that's going to make the line better.
Hey, 5 straight years of 30 or more sacks given up. I think it's going to change this year. That's going to be my super early prediction. They'll finish with under 30 for the first time under Pittman this year.
And Taylor has to do, it's not all on the offensive line. Tight ends play a role, running backs play a role, quarterbacks holding the ball too long. But I'll make this contention also. They gave up 47 in 2023. Think about how many of those should have been sacks but weren't because KJ Jefferson's throwing people off of him. Like, there were so many times where he should have gone down. Talon goes down a little easier. He's faster than KJ. The thing that Talon has to do a little bit better job of is a little bit more awareness. Like, that was stupid what he did against Texas Tech, taking that safety. Like, you knew
Yeah.
You knew you got to get rid of the ball, and he took that safety. He will also take 10-yard. It seems like when he gets sacked, it's not a 2-yard sack, it's not a 5-yard sack. It's 10, 12 yards,
Doing that
and it takes you out of field goal range,
Exactly.
So those kinds of things he's got to be better at too. Danny, I know we got off onto a kind of football, but
oh man, I wish we had another hour.
Yeah.
Hey, it's that time of year. I'll throw one name at you and I'll get out of here, Trey.
Okay.
D.D. Daniels, Rodarian Daniels. He goes by D.D. 6'2", 180 corner. Coming to Fayetteville this weekend, and he's already got an official set up for May 30th. Keep an eye on that one. They've been trying to break into what do you call it, Lake Cormorant, Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
This will be the third year in a row. We talked about Camarion Franklin 2 years ago. He signed with Ole Miss. Talked about Jacoby Hobson last year, same school, signed with Ole Miss, 4-star. And now we're talking about D.D. Daniels, and I think it might switch up a little bit. Marcus Woodson's seems like a pretty good spot on this one. So keep an eye on that one. D.D. Daniels, we'll be talking about
Fort in Mississippi.
Yeah. And can you go out and steal one that Ole Miss wants from Mississippi? We've seen progress in that state and Alabama. Can you go get one like this that Ole Miss wants to keep? Ole Miss has all the momentum or more than Arkansas does. I think that's fair to say. So this would be a good get. 6'2" corner. Keep an eye on Rodarian D.D. Daniels. He'll be in this weekend and be back in a few weeks.
Yep. All right, Danny. Maybe we'll discuss a little more.
Felt like I had to talk about a recruit at some point.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it is the end of the dead period. There is some guys coming in, but obviously a lot of focus on maybe not so much the recruits that they are bringing in right now as so much the guys that they did bring in with spring football starting up. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball as we preview what will be spring practice later that day. Because by the way, as of now, we're doing the show on Monday just because it just seems to fit better. Thursday show, I don't know, I just didn't like the time slot as good. So maybe we'll see how Mondays go for right now. Obviously, during football season, we're Monday, Thursday, Saturday with the walk and talk. So yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, Danny.
You start the show, I'll be here, buddy.
All right, bud. All right, talk to you later. All right, everybody, that's Danny West. Again, follow Danny at Danny West 24/7 on X, the HawgSports recruiting analyst, and does so much more. Obviously, helps us out a good bit with football as well. And, kind of the next guy whenever I need a little extra assistance. All right, let's see what kind of questions we got. We don't always take questions lately, but we're going to take them today. So get your questions in if you got them. Okay. Megan says, who will be the top receiver this season? We talked about that a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me to see it like Omega Blake is kind of maybe not the leading receiver, maybe not the leading yards per catch guy, though I think he'll be up there. Maybe not the leading touchdown guy, who knows, but maybe the guy that's kind of like right there in all the categories. I could see that. I could also see them really trying to make an effort to make Courtney Crutchfield the guy. Like they brought him in to be a stud. I don't believe that they brought him in to kind of warm up and learn and all that stuff. I think they brought him in to be a player for him. So I'll look at Courtney Crutchfield. I could see a guy like Raylan Sharp leading them in receptions, or maybe a Cam Shanks leading them in receptions. But I don't know. I'm kind of looking for some reason Omega Blake. I wish what is number? I wish he was wearing a number 3, so he would be Omega 3. I guess he could be Omega 6. I don't have the roster, but that would be awesome if he was Omega 3. So you got to have Omega 3, right? So I kind of think one of those two guys, as far as yardage is concerned, I think it could be one of those two guys, yardage, touchdowns. As far as receptions, maybe Sharp or Shanks. Richard Beard says Tesla got screwed at Arkansas. He did in a way. Like, first of all, he shouldn't have been playing the slot in 2023. And secondly, he shouldn't have been playing behind Tyrone Broden. Like, and not only should he not have been playing, like, okay, I can understand, like, Tyrone's tall and fast and all this stuff. He runs fast catapult, all this great stuff. But after a while, when you're like, this dude can't catch. But we got a guy who can. But the narrative, like, how much did you hear? Like, he's just not athletic enough. Oh yeah. I mean, according to what I see, he's the 11th most athletic receiver since 1987 to go to the NFL Combine. Sometimes that doesn't always translate. I had a discussion with DJ Williams earlier today, and we were talking about like Joe Adams. Joe Adams ran a 4.55 at the NFL Combine, and he was the hell of a receiver for Arkansas. So sometimes it doesn't always translate over in terms of testing numbers. There's a term that people used to use called football fast, and that's a real thing. But TeSlaa caught just about everything thrown his way. He has tremendous hands, and apparently is a 4.44 guy in the 40-yard dash at 6'4", 213 pounds, and can jump 39 inches, which is one of the best vertical leaps of the entire combine. Megan, we talked about Talon, I think a good enough bit to where it probably answered your question on how much he will improve. I think so much of it, obviously, the coaching and experience in the system and all that stuff matter, but it doesn't matter as much as the protection he has and the targets that he has up front. How many games does Pittman have to win to keep his job? I think there's a difference in keeping his job and appeasing the fan base. To appease this fan base, I think 8 regular season wins would make people go, okay, here we go. Things are okay. I see what he's doing, that kind of thing. 7 wins, I think people just kind of look at that and it's like one more win than last year. All this NIL, all this more, support and money and revenue sharing and all this stuff, and it's just worth one win. Still going to a mid-tier bowl, not even in discussion for the college football playoff, all those kinds of topics. I think, I think that's what you would hear from fans, just kind of the same grumbling that they've heard. And like, we're about to run this back for what, year 7 now after this? You know how it'll be. So I think 7 probably would be enough for him to keep his job by the standards at the University of Arkansas and I guess historical standards maybe. But as far as the fan base and what I would like to see out of him is take a jump forward. Like let's take this forward. Arkansas is what we got. Like this is the team. There's not an NFL team here. There's not another college that you can like turn your support to or anything like that. Not that you would, not that other places do that. But as far as the news cycle goes, when it's football season, it's Razorback football. And the idea that like 6 wins is enough is just, it's not. It's not, especially in this day and age. Ross Rader says, how was TeSlaa number 3 behind Stonehan? Still baffles me. Elmer Fudd says, as long as the football program doesn't get as bad as it was under Morris, apparently. The Chad Morris era isn't the standard by which you measure Razorback football having success. It's just not. As long as the football program doesn't get as bad as it was under Morris, Pittman apparently isn't going anywhere. Must not be nice not to have standards and expectations for your job. Yeah, it's hard to. You can't really compare football to pretty much any other job, though. I mean, because there's, in a job like if you're working real estate, then a lot of people can do well in real estate, right? There's not, people might be doing better than you, but you could still be doing very well. And a lot of people, it's not like just one person doing well and, everybody else sucking and getting fired. Yeah, Megan, I think you had a lot of questions that I think we answered just throughout the course of the show, so you're staying on top of it. Chances Boogie Flam will come back to Arkansas. Oh, next season. Oh, that's a no. Yeah, he'll go to the professional ranks, whether that lands him in the NBA, which it probably will, or the G League. Yeah, he's not coming back to Arkansas. Elmer Fudd says, is there confidence Cal will successfully use the portal? Yes. Using the portal has never been his forte. I mean, so Nelly Davis may not have panned out to be, but he was the number 3 ranked portal player in the country. So he was very highly regarded. John L. Davis has not turned out to be, but he was the number 17 ranked portal player in the country. And what did I say? Jonas Adu? I think I said Jonas Adu. Anyway, Jonas Adu is who I'm talking about. And Jonas, I did this today again. I went back and looked at Jonas Adu's Tennessee highlights, his portal highlights. It's a different player. He's obviously injured. So that was unfortunate, obviously, for them. He brought in basically who he wanted from Kentucky out of the portal. I don't know if that really counts because he had those relationships with those guys before. But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's always kind of been more of a high school guy. But if you look at Auburn, they have one of, if not the oldest team in NCAA. Like, they have a roster that's older than, I think, one of the NBA teams, somebody said the other day. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a formula there. Elmer says Arkansas needs to celebrate NIT invitation the same way they celebrated the Liberty Bowl invite. Maybe make some T-shirts. It's very sarcastic. Kim Bowie says, just claim they only have 7 guys and insult the rest of the team. No better than they played last game. Everybody with the jersey should have played. What did they have to lose? Plenty when you put guys out there who are not ready. Kim, I'm sorry, but they have 7 guys that should go out there and play. And if that's insulting to the rest of the team, then I guess it is. But they just didn't they brought in 9 guys. One of them's hurt, and now another one's hurt. They got 7. The other guys are basically, pretty much walk-ons who are on scholarship because they put all their money, their NIL money, into 9 players so they could bring in 9 high-quality guys. In theory, that's what they did. They probably need to aim at more like 11. I think they undershot that a little bit. And maybe those guys, maybe a guy's like a 3-point specialist, maybe a guy's a defensive specialist, maybe guys that, don't warrant $500,000 or whatever some of these guys are getting paid. Megan asked do I think Nate Ament will commit to Arkansas? Arkansas is in his final 5. I know Duke is in there. Kentucky. Let's see who else. Duke, Kentucky, Arkansas. I believe Tennessee is one. Yeah, Louisville and Tennessee. Those are the 5. By the way, Louisville is like, what is Louisville's record? They're like 22-6 or something. 23-6. I mean, that's an incredible turnaround for that basketball program. Obviously, it has a ton of potential, but Zagoo says Arkansas still plays football. Everybody's got jokes. Yeah, they still play football. Bumble's Bounce says starting last Saturday, they don't play basketball anymore. Not sure what you mean. All right, we're going to end it with that. Megan Trembling wins for best comments. We'll throw Elmer Fuddpacker a bone also. And, yeah. Kyle Sproul, we got one more. Kyle Sproul says, I wish you would have given us the 10 players above Isaac Tesla. That's a good one. Let's see if I can find it. You can probably Google it if I can't find it. Maybe you can find it. Top 10. See if I can find it real quick and easy. This is on Reddit. It doesn't just have a list though. Wide receiver. You're going to laugh at this one. So Calvin Johnson is a 10.0. Number 2 at a 9.99, tied for number 2 with Joe Webb, is your own Matt Jones. Andre Johnson at a 9.98. Moritz Boehringer, 9.98, and Javon Walker, a 9.97. But Matt Jones with a 9.99. And you got to believe it. I mean, the dude was a 4.39 in the 40-yard dash, over 6'5". What was he, 6'6" at the combine? I can't remember. I always felt like they listed him a little bit shorter than he was. But, yeah, I didn't even think that Matt Jones, but, I mean, obviously he would be, being a guy that big who runs that fast. And I'm sure he jumped out of the gym too. Anyway, all right, that's the show today. Appreciate everybody for hopping on. Next week will be, I guess, depending on when they do the time for the game or for the start of the spring football, we'll have the show previewing everything. We'll do a little bit more focus on defense that we did so much on offense today. Yeah, we'll have basketball to talk about, baseball to talk about, some recruiting stuff. So we'll have the gang on again to talk about all the different things going on. Sign up at HawgSports for $1 if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button. Give us a like. Throw a comment in. Whatever platform you're on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. Set it to where you're notified anytime we upload new videos. Also, follow us on Instagram. And, yeah, follow us on X. Follow all of us on X. Appreciate you. Thanks to all the guys for hopping on. Danny, Connor, Kevin. Appreciate all you guys for chiming in with your comments. And that's it. That's a show. We did it. We knocked it out. And we'll be back with you guys on Monday unless something happens and I want to hop on again midweek. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.